My name's Brad Ashley, Business Partner Development Manager at Esri Canada. My background's in surveying and mapping, engineering companies throughout Canada. Spent most of my career in Calgary working for a company called Group, which is now part of the WSP brand. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Esri or Esri Canada, we had a booth upstairs in the exhibit space, which I think is closed by the time this talk ends. But happy to connect on LinkedIn and chat a little bit further. Before I get these guys to do a quick round of introductions, I'll just set the stage for the panel that we're going to be on here today. We're talking about collaborating with trades through technology. As we all kind of, I'm assuming most people in the room know, collaborating with contractors and trades is sometimes a challenge. And so we'll be talking about ways that we can be more successful with project delivery and managing those projects. So I will pass it over to Ryan Bradley, who's got a great last name, and get him to do a quick intro.
Yeah, so my name's Ryan Bradley. So I am the Director of VDC for Eastern Canada for Modern Niagara. So we have 6 offices across Canada right now, but I only take care of what is in...
I'm thinking.
Okay. So I only take care of anything that's basically from Ontario east of there right now. We have about 50 VDC designers in-house in just Eastern Canada and about 100 VDC designers nationwide. Prior to that, my experience was actually in consulting. So I've been a consulting engineer for over 13 years. But then recently, about 2.5 years ago, decided to make the switch to Modern Niagara to go on the trade side.
Perfect, thanks. Next, we have Patrick.
Hello, my name is Patrick Lalonde. I'm Director of Virtual Design and Construction with EllisDon. I've been with EllisDon for about 12 years. Started in a VDC BIM coordination role, and I've been, focused on helping to deploy and develop our tools and processes within the organization for about that amount of time. And it's been an exciting ride. I worked on a number of projects from LRTs to hospitals and helping to develop the processes on those projects specifically, as well as implement them on an organization level. So happy to be here.
Thanks. And Mohamed?
Yeah, my name is Mohamed Adel. I'm the Digital Construction Director for the Buildings Group in Bird. I have been with Bird now for 4 years, so I have an civil engineering background. I grew up in construction family, so I always went to my father on construction site, so it made more sense for me to join civil engineering. And then I worked in Dubai, lived and worked in Dubai for over 10 years, worked on large-scale projects like airports, the big exhibitions like Expo 2020. And then I came to Canada, joined Bird since 4 years. Bird is my first employer. We started digitizing the activities on site as a construction company with a program. So we created a program that digitizes the construction company progressively. So we all know that it's not like the construction is connected business, it's all fragmented. So we decided to start steady and slow with this program. And I'm happy to be here for sure.
And finally, at the end, we've got Jeremy.
Yeah, hello. I'm Jeremy Brown, Director of Mechanical VDC at Plan Group. I've been with Plan Group for a little over a year now. I've been in the construction industry for close to 17 years. Started my journey as a steam fitter. I'm a licensed steam fitter. My BIM journey started in around 2012 with Ripley's Aquarium, and I've been riding that wave ever since. So happy to be here.
Great. So just to give everyone a context of what we're up to, I've got a number of questions that I'm going to be asking these gentlemen. I think we're in pretty good hands. They've got tons of experience, and they'll be able to give us some good answers. We also will try and hold some time at the end. So if we can get through this, if everyone doesn't take all the time that we've got, we'll have questions at the end as opposed to asking questions throughout. So start off, let's get into this. I'm going to ask Patrick a question. So maybe just to familiarize everyone with what's up at EllisDon, could you give us a sense of how EllisDon uses technology for collaboration with trades?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to, kind of set the stage with is, we want to think of technology as a tool, right? The same way that, a carpenter uses a hammer or a drill, it is a device that we need to rely on to get the job done. So with EllisDon, we work with a variety of contractors, trades, designers, and very unique contract types, project types. Everything is very bespoke in terms of project setup and configuration, and our technology tools are very similar to that. So the tools we use, we want to make sure that we have the right products and the right technology in place to get the job done. And EllisDon is primarily a general contractor or a construction manager, but really we're in the business of managing information and managing communication. So the biggest technology that we use is essentially like cloud technology as a concept, which helps us centralize that information and communication piece. So the more that we can centralize that and control that, the easier the collaboration is going to be. And then another big tool or technology that we use, and what I'm very much familiar with, is BIM and virtual design and construction. Because with collaboration, the models are a very good visual medium to collaborate, to tell stories, to get information across. So we use that quite extensively.
Great. There's a few more seats here in the front and throughout. If anyone is looking for a chair, don't be scared. I think the five of us are trying to hold back our spit as much as we can. It's not the splash zone in the front, so feel free. All right, perfect. Well, thank you for that, Patrick. So next, I'm going to ask Ryan a very similar question. How is Modern Niagara using technology to collaborate with trades?
Yeah, so very similar to what Patrick is saying as well, is that we're aligning ourselves with using the right tools that we have available to us. There is a little bit of a nuance to it as well, because we kind of have to follow what the general contractor is using on these projects. So we do have a say in some stuff, but a lot of it is depending on who the contractor is, we have to pivot to what platform they're using. So there'll be some where, EllisDon might use a platform like Revisto, but then someone like Bird will use a platform like ACC or Autodesk Construction Cloud. And we have to know all the different versions and adhere to them. So there's a lot of training that we have to do on that and invest a lot of time to understand what these platforms are and pivot with them. But it goes to it as well, is that at the end of the day, though, it's what Patrick was saying, is that we provide that mechanical model to communicate to the trades and other trades as well. So we're communicating with our electrical trades, the structural trades, with where we're placing our sleeves, where we're placing our hangers, where are we moving and planning to put all of our systems in place. So we just need to embrace what it is to be able to communicate with the model with everyone else.
Perfect. So I'm not going to ask the same question to Mohamed and Jeremy, because I assume we're going to get a whole lot of "that sounds great," and Patrick and Ryan have already said everything. So we're going to move on to a second set of questions here that are a little bit different. And this time, if you guys do have anything to add or echo in, feel free. So Jeremy, what would you say are some of the current challenges when collaborating with trades?
So this is one of the topics we could go on an entire room for a long time. But having some time to think about this, and a couple examples. One of the biggest challenges we have is the pace of change. The pace of change is so rapid in all of the technology we are dealing with. And funny enough, coming into this meeting today, working with Plan over the last year to implement standards and processes and things we're going to do to address our process. There were 3 different things we're coming out of this meeting, this event today, that we need to address and come up to speed with. Like 3 earth-shattering, stop everything what you're doing, we got to do this or we're going to be behind. So the pace of change is super rapid. And just looking at it from my career perspective, getting into the trade as an apprentice in 2006, this was a world without iPhones, no iPads, a construction site, internet penetration was super low on the site level. A lot of the contract law at the time was derived around official submittals and paper and meetings. And that stuff still exists. That is still the world we live in, and how we address that change and the processes to the changing and rapid pace of technology is a huge challenge for us to address.
Great. Yeah, I remember I was joking with someone the other day that one of the first things I remember being, eye-opening was when I first started doing mapping in 2006. GPS was still fairly new. The whole, way that transitions were happening. But one of the biggest weird things was there was a virtual store that would close every day at 5 p.m. It was a virtual store, but still they were only open, 8 to 5 Mountain Time, and the rest of the time they were closed. And this is a virtual store, so yeah, interesting times. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add to that.
Yeah, I
changes,
just,
but-
I'll have something to add because that's kind of near and dear to me. And, a lot of, what I do is making sure that we have the right, tools, processes in place and training, for people to be successful with those tools. And, with the pace of change, as soon as I write a procedure or I write a process or a manual on how to do something, the software vendor has released a new update and completely changed that tool. And that, that procedure I just wrote is obsolete. And so maintaining these processes and procedures and training documents is almost, a wasted effort because of this pace of change and evolution of the tools. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I think now we have to change how we create these procedures, because now people who are using these platforms and software and workflows are now tech friendly, and they can figure out from the software itself how to navigate inside the software. So it's not like we have to write every single step. I will not write for a person who is using a software in digital construction world, open file, press here. This is very waste timing and not necessarily. So I think, yeah, I fully agree with you. Sure. Yeah.
And there's one thing with it too, is that the pace of the change is so rapid, but then just don't forget as well is that the change is happening for the good as well.
Yeah.
Like it's disruptive to what is happening on our active projects, but it's making an improvement for the project and moving forward is what's happening.
Well, thanks. Mohamed, I'm going to ask you the next question, and I'm sure all the folks on this panel have international experience, but certainly when we met, yours comes across your work in Dubai and others. Would you say that similar challenges as the ones that Jeremy and others have talked about exist outside of Canada, or would you say that we've got something different as far as challenges in the 4 years you've been here?
Yeah, I can tell you construction is same everywhere. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, the construction itself, it have a deep problem in the processes that it is fragmented. So this is the core issue on what we see as challenges. So today you are using one platform for coordination. Tomorrow you are using another platform for design. A day after tomorrow you are using another platform for just the visualization. There is no full comprehensive vision on how to connect all these together. No, I'm not talking about software here. I'm talking about the process and the concept and the mentality itself. So people always see digital construction or VDC as an additional layer. So I'll do my schedule and then I will do the 4D. It is the same thing. You are just duplicating your work and you are not really seeing the big value of mitigating all these efforts, duplication of efforts, and something like the design. So why we haven't seen any big embrace in the construction using BIM? Because most of the people are using BIM as a replacement to AutoCAD. BIM in general, just to produce drawings. And the data side of things is usually ignored. I think only 5 years, since 5 years only people realized, yeah, actually data is very important. Let's try to invest in it. But construction is everywhere the same. And there are always uphills. But I think now it's totally different, as we discussed and as we have seen today. I liked a lot Jeff Smith in EllisDon, the previous CEO speech, when he mentioned that the construction companies will be software companies eventually. When this will happen, I don't think it's far away. I don't think so. Yeah.
Great. Anyone, anything to add there? Good. All right, Jeremy, in my experience, going back some time, one of the biggest challenges has always been finding people with skill sets that cross multiple technologies. You'll be able to hire someone that's really good at Civil 3D, or you can hire someone that's really good at Revit. You can hire someone that's really good at GIS. But then, you try to find that unicorn staff member that can do all of that. Is that continuing to be a challenge, and how is hiring becoming a challenge in your space?
So absolutely, and I like the phrase unicorn, because my phrase a lot of times is we like to manage with unicorns and wizards, and that's the way we plan our projects out. We're going to find unicorns and wizards, and everything's going to work out well. But sort of to Ryan's point earlier, being mechanical, being a specialty contractor, not only do we need to exist under the environments of the GCs and our trade partners we work with. We saw in our industry, when we look at contract law, mechanical before BIM was the lead contractual coordinator. And so all of our processes and how we develop stuff was in our court, and now we're needing to find ways to exist in teams that are much bigger. So we have platform issues, and just from a coordination standpoint, getting people up to speed on Procore, Revisto, ACC to exist in those platforms is a huge challenge. And even my senior coordinators right now that are Navisworks wizards, now I want them existing in ACC with model coordination, and that's different from BIM 360 design module. And more specifically to mechanical, what we're seeing a change towards is we are building the buildings virtually before we build them. We are putting the level of detail in there that requires trade level knowledge. So we're putting a concerted effort to find people with trade level knowledge and make the software kind of the back end of things. Get the intelligence into the software, not train all on the software. So that's how we're kind of approaching the solution at the moment.
That's really interesting. Anyone?
Yeah.
I'll jump on it. Mechanical. Like it's the same thing. Like we're taking the same approach on it, but it's like just a second. What Jeremy's saying is, we can teach someone quicker on the technologies we have. Where we lack the knowledge in finding those unicorns is someone that is a trade level of detail that can model this in the technologies. So it's really hard. Like we can take juniors out of school and train them up, but it's extremely hard and time consuming to train them to be at a trade level of detail. Like they didn't go through They didn't go through an apprenticeship. And that takes them 5 years. So we have to embrace them with the lack of pool that we have for talent. So we're trying to bring them in, but it's like we're trying to bring in tradesmen, but we can teach them the technologies. Whatever the technology is, we can adapt to it. Is what helps.
Yeah, and just to further on that, from the GC perspective, I think the soft skills are very important to be combined with those technical skills, because a lot of what we do is managing a process with large groups of people, whether it's design coordination meetings, trade coordination meetings. There's a huge human element and a human factor to that, and a lot to what the keynote speaker today said, Lena, about that human factor is never going to go away, even with all the technology. So I think those soft skills combined with the technological know-how and aptitude is the real unicorn, and something that we're going to need to continue to train on and develop over the next few years. Yeah.
Right.
Just to add to that, which also related to what I mentioned before. So my 2-year-old daughter figures out how to open YouTube on the phone. So anyone now, I mean, they will figure out the technical skills. The more important is the skills, the soft skills, which really lacking from the market we see now. Yeah.
So if anyone's working on the resume,
Yeah.
got four opinions up here that are soft skills are more important. So leave off all that technical stuff. For hiring or just to see? All right, Patrick. I'm gonna change it up a little bit here, and I want to talk a little bit more on the positive side. And again, if anyone's taking notes for resumes, this could be some good stuff. If you were to join a team today, new, fresh, and I'm not telling anyone at EllisDon that he's not going to be there, but if you were new and starting out, what would you suggest might be the most important priority if you were setting up a new team for collaboration with trades?
That's a good one. Whether it's a new company or not, this is kind of something we do quite regularly is, set up a project with a new team on a new technology. I always like to reference, and it might be a bit cliche, is sort of that histogram of the people, process, technology. And those are sort of the three pillars of success for any technology or any organization or any process, is to have all those things working, together and working very well. So the technology is not going to go anywhere without the process in place to use it, and without the people trained to use that technology. So once you have that technology piece sorted out and in place, your first priority is getting that process and getting the people in place so all of those things can work together.
Great. Anything to add there? Priorities if you were starting out or starting a new team or new project? Patrick, you did a great job, I guess. Everyone agrees. I guess, again, back to a positive direction. Mohamed, how would you say that technology is making things better at Bird? Would you say, we're coming somewhere? We're better than we were 4 years ago, would you say? Or how's it going?
Yeah, definitely. And the key success points is that progressively and steadily as well. So Bird is a big construction company, so you can just press a button and change everything, correct? So it have to be progressive. It have to be also considering the pace of the construction project. No one will stop and just see the new process and embrace the new process, try and error. It's not offending IT, but it's not IT industry. When they have the time, sufficient time to do it, we have projects, ongoing projects, which we have to progressively implement or change or digitize. I like to use this word a lot because we are not introducing a new level or a new level of effort on the site team. We are trying to exchange that or digitize what is happening already on site as a process with the new digitized process. It's not an additional layer. We are not doing much more information, or people on site will not do much more effort. It's actually getting the right people to work more towards the actual construction instead of document management, as an example. This is a very boring process which can be automated. No need to do it manually. We are hiring engineers to do engineering jobs, but the market now is not doing this. The market now is hiring engineers to do documentation jobs, which you are not really benefiting from the expertise you have. So back to the question, how it's affecting us and how we are working with our trade partners. So we don't force a lot of technology, but we work mutually with the trades so that they are the one who are saying, yes, we want this. And our success is to hear from a person, and this is actually a true story, from a company, trade partner in Halifax, back in Halifax. They want to get introduced to BIM and how to embrace BIM in their company and to make it business as usual. So also back in Dubai, 5 years ago, we have started the same cycle. So trades also are coming to the project, and first thing to say, they sign the contract, and in the kickoff meeting of the project, they say, what is BIM in the first place? But then we work with them to get them to the right pace, not excessively, but to the right pace, according to the deliverables of the project or the contract. And then on the next job, they are the ones who are now business as usual for them, this process, and they are working with us natively. So this is the success, not to just force software or force processes. I think this is the paramount, which we are trying to focus in when we are working with the trades.
Perfect. Before I ask anyone for just a general poll of the audience, how many people feel that technology is making work and collaboration with trades better? Hands up. And then we'll. Okay, good number. Anybody think it's making it worse? Okay, and for the video, that was a no. Nobody thought it was making it worse. Jeremy, you had something?
Yeah, so I wanted to echo that, and I think tying back a little bit and taking the focus out, we're so immersed in all the $5 apps right now and all the cool stuff. To understand the success of technology, we wouldn't be able to build construction projects as fast as we build them now without technology.
Yeah.
And if I go back to that 2006 world, didn't have email on site. Email is a technology for collaboration.
Yeah.
Email is something that makes all of our lives super easy. And our jobs on this panel, a lot of the times we think of the challenges because that's what we're paid to solve. But if we're talking about email, that makes a construction project work. And if we're talking about like agile methodologies and people over processes and soft skills, we just can't lose vision that the technology is there to help us achieve our job, and we aren't there to figure out the technology and work to it.
Wow, there's next year's keynote right there.
I'll add to that actually. So back in Dubai, when I was working on a large-scale project, very complicated structure, one of the project directors in the beginning of the project, they said, yeah, why we need BIM? Actually, the pyramids, I'm Egyptian originally, so pyramids are built without even drawings or without even a model. And you are asking us now to use a model. But that same project director, at the end of the job, he mentioned that without the current configuration which we had, we never built this project. It is very complex, and without the coordination process in a virtual environment, this wouldn't happen at all, from the design perspective or from the installation perspective as well. Yeah.
I saw it on the History Channel. I'm pretty sure it was aliens.
Using a model.
Using a model.
Patrick or Ryan, anything to add on those?
Yeah, I just got one thing to add. I've been, very beneficial to have the experience to be with EllisDon for as long as I have. And sort of starting when, VDC and BIM and this stuff was really starting to pick up steam. And I've seen that evolution of how we use the technology within the organization. And I'm really seeing that paradigm shift of not necessarily pushing technology, but it's starting to pull from us as well. And I think that speaks a lot of volumes to sort of where we're at, and letting the industry adopt at its own pace, and the organization. And I think we're really starting to see it.
Perfect. All right, Ryan, I'm going to ask you my last canned question here, and again, everyone can add in. Obviously, as we think through the way that technology has changed a lot of our lives, I mean, whether it's, my mom doesn't get lost as frequently when she leaves the house and uses her GPS, whether it's, somebody doesn't have as many house fires because, we've got centralized alarm systems, whatever the technology advancement is, if you could think of one significant advancement that's come out of some of the impacts of collaboration with trades, what would you say that would be?
Yeah, like one of the most significant aspects of it is like we're able to now pre-plan our construction. So like we're in a deadline driven industry. Like it's all about deadlines, and for us to rapidly get to a point where we can figure out how we're going to install this as quickly as possible using the technology that we have at our disposal to move the construction forward. Like that is one of the biggest impacts that it has on the industry right now for us. And it's like trying to find out, or trying to figure out all the clashes as quickly as we can. So using technologies like Navisworks to visualize the model from all the different models that we're putting together to get it to that built solution in a digital twin kind of way before we actually build it. Like that's the significant impact that I believe is what it's doing right now on the industry.
For sure. Anyone?
Yeah, just to further that, I think it's, totally agree. And like one of the things that I see and I think is very, very special about what we do with technology is that technology is the medium by which we all sort of focus on or use to collaborate with and on. So when you have two people that are passionate about technology, about construction, and they're faced with a problem, it's really sort of magical to see them come together and sort of break down those barriers around the technology to overcome that common challenge. And we see that working together with Modern or Plan. The VDC specialist for Modern and our VDC coordinator from EllisDon, they're working together, they're collaborating on the model, and they're solving that challenge. And I think it helps a lot.
Any others? Everyone's agreeing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, to my last thought here and being the guy on the moderator on the panel from a location company, my thought is, the way that we can track and manage staff in the field these days, the way that we can ensure that people are checked in and checked out at the end of the day and everyone got home safe, like that is incredible. Again, going back to, Jeremy's timeline of 2006, we really had if someone had a problem in the field and they were somewhere in northern Alberta or somewhere in northern Quebec, and they were having challenges, we really had limited understanding of that was taking place. And so in today's world, we now, have mapping tools with spot devices and all of the location capability to know where those people are, not to the granular point of they were in their truck all day. We don't care about that. It's more about that they got home safely or they got back onto site with limited issues. So I think, thank you all for your answers and your thoughts. Go ahead.
But like even like you touching on the safety, like it hits a point with me. Like back in Calgary, there's a company there that takes technology, and what they had is they had a little trying to remember what it was, but it was a device that was on a worker that is in a remote location. And what the device did is that it would monitor the environment around them. So it would detect if the worker passed out or something, and it actually is tied back to a centralized like database or like a war room. So like the people there would be monitoring all of their workers out in the field, like this is oil and gas, and they would know if there's a worker down because they work alone or something, or they're out, or like there's a group of them and they all are down now.
Yep.
So it's like embracing that technology for safety.
Yeah, I mean, those are the ones that I love having conversations like that with my dad or my granddad, because it's like, those technologies weren't there. They certainly didn't, when they were working in sites, they certainly weren't doing that kind of stuff. No one knew. So anyway, thank you very much to the panel. We have about 7 minutes here. Any questions from the floor? Any thoughts? We've got one from Maxwell here.
Yeah, actually, Ryan and I were chatting earlier. I'm about to implement ACC, but it could be Procore for the purpose of this evening. It's just or another platform. But the big thing is getting an accommodated environment. So for the GCs, maybe some advice for how to get, and our trades are not sophisticated. So getting unsophisticated trades on board using accommodated environment. And I guess for the trades, what are some things you wish a GC would have done getting you on their platform?
So I think the question was best practices for getting trades on board with accommodator.
Mainly that, yeah.
Yeah, and then if you're on the opposite side, how to get how to roll that out.
What you wish they did.
Okay.
I can take this from the GC side, and you can add to it if you have more. So going back to my people process technology analogy, like you've got your technology sort of sorted out, and now your next step is to focus on that process. So like with ACC, I know there's a lot of process oriented tools within that platform to help you define templates, workflows, things like that. So you really want to establish all of those tools and all of those procedures so that when you give that trade, that less sophisticated trade, that, you know, power, you're giving them a Ferrari, for instance, and without a license to drive, right? So you want to make sure that there's a manual. It's very, you know, he stays within the lanes and knows how to use it. So when you sort of define all that stuff within the platform and it's ready to go, then it's a lot easier for him or them to make those decisions and use the tool. Rather than just dumping it on their plate and say good luck, right? So really focus on getting those workflows and processes in place before you sort of release the hounds on the tool.
And from a specialty trade perspective, and we didn't actually touch on this yet, trying to stay agnostic so you can exist in multiple environments is super important. And in the Canadian marketplace in particular, we've been a little slow to adopt standards. And I'm a big proponent of stuff coming to our marketplace like ISO 19650. So when evaluating the platforms we are going to implement, that data portability is a huge component of it. When I need to exist either in a Revisto or an ACC or a Procore, if we get to the point in Canada where we have a national annex and ISO 19650 implemented, the idea being that I can take my data from this place and put it on that platform, and it should work in both environments because the data is sorted on that end. So a lot of my questions to vendors nowadays is, are you ISO 19650 compliant? If not, when?
Yeah, I'll add to that from a general contractor or CM perspective. So your common data environment need to speak to the other common data environments, because most likely you will work with trades or with a GC who have different platform, and it's contractually mandated. So you will be doubling the work if your CDE or common data environment doesn't integrate, I hope, automatically with the other common data environment. Otherwise, you will have a dedicated people to upload documents, drawings, models from this platform to that platform. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've solved Maxwell's problems. Next one. Yeah, go ahead.
How do you deal with architects and engineers and consultants where they give you models that aren't up to the level of detail you would expect?
Question from the floor is, how do you deal with architects, engineers, and consultants who don't provide the best quality products?
Back to the soft skills thing. So you have to speak. First of all, you have to communicate that you are expecting something from them, because most of the time they are not expecting anyone to use their models. So their sole focus is to produce the drawings. But if you've spoken with them, I think this will change a bit of how the model is delivered. And also it's a mutual agreement thing. You will have a benefit, they will have also a benefit. So at least things will be much better if the contract doesn't allow for this. This is in the environment where you don't have the proper setup. But if you have the influence to set up things initially, you can set up workflows and agreement points that this is the LOD, the make sense LOD, which you want to have in your model, and also explain why you want this level of LOD. And is it only geometry, or you need as well the data associated to it? So it's a multi-level of communication, which is the prime thing to do in any construction project for sure.
And I feel it's a bit of a Canadian marketplace issue at the moment and a bit of contract law. So we are now seeing some innovations in project delivery methods. What is expected out of each member of a party building a building. When we go back to our traditional contract law bid spec, they're providing a diagrammatic drawing for us to produce a model from. But then we are getting into situations where everyone sees the value of VDC, and how do we convert that bid spec model into a usable construction model, all of that stuff. But I think it's starting to get addressed with appropriate project delivery models. Hopefully standardization will come in of how to approach that. But it's an ongoing issue, and frankly, probably be unemployed if all the models were coming out perfect.
I can say from my experience, one thing that you think it's time consuming, but it saves a ton of time down channel on the project. If you can create an example or a sample project that is of the level and caliber of what you're expecting, and send that out to your contractors and say, this is what we're expecting back. Anything other than this, we're going to reject and we're sending back to you. This is the level of detail we're expecting. This is the type. It needs to be oriented. It has to be the whole bit. It gives them something to really go against and understand what they're expected to do. That is our time, and I think there's another talk in here in 5 minutes. So we don't have a ton of time, but please come up and ask questions if ever anyone has any. I think we're probably all on LinkedIn. If anyone needs anything and wants to connect, feel free. Again, I would like to thank these 4 gentlemen. If everyone could give them a round of applause for their wonderful answers.